there, my name's Jill Tiny. I'm from Collaboration Global, and this is our podcast, Being Human, Hidden Depths. I'm going to be interviewing some of our members from Collaboration Global, and they're going to be sharing with you their extraordinary lives. Although they would probably believe they're just normal, everyday, average humans, but they are extraordinary. A bit like you and me. We all have our story to tell. We've all been through difficult times, and we've come out the other end having learned an extraordinary amount about ourselves that we can share with others. So I think you'll find lots of things that will resonate with where you've been in your journey as well. I look forward to seeing you on the other side. Hello and welcome to the Being Human Hidden Depths podcast. My name is Jill Tiny. I'm the founder of Collaboration Global, and I'm very excited today to bring a very special guest who you know as much about her as I probably do at this point in time. We have only recently met, literally. I've been aware of her for about 2 weeks, literally aware of her for about 2 weeks, met on LinkedIn like you do most good people. And I'd like to welcome Inge Hunter to our wonderful podcast.
Thank you, Jill. It's lovely to be here.
So Inge didn't know anything about us at Collaboration Global either. So I've just been explaining to her what we're all about. And I think probably now she's going slightly crazy. Maybe I shouldn't have come on this podcast.
No, it sounds good.
Okay, well, that's a good start. Now, many of our guests that we've had on in the past have had decades of experience in their business, in their life, in their charitable work, in their exploration of themselves and the world, and yet you are probably the same age as my daughter. So I'm thinking you've got probably this much experience, but do you know what? From what we've just said over the last few minutes, Inge, I think you've had more experience in the last 6 months than most people have had in their lifetime. But I want to take you back to early doors. Tell us briefly your journey, which is a vast journey from actually being homeless through to being a successful entrepreneur. And you say it quickly and it sounds like, oh, that's not such a big leap. Successful entrepreneur, hurrah. Many people have done that. But when you consider the actual, tell me physically, emotionally, from a spiritual, heart-led place, what it was like to not know where your next meal was coming from and what it felt like to be on the streets. And did you ever think you would get yourself out of it? Or did you think, well, this is it, this is my lot?
So I was a homeless young person. So I was 17 when I was homeless, and heart-led and spiritual-led, that's a very hard question to ask, because accessing the way that you feel in those kind of situations isn't something that I'm normally up for doing. But it didn't take me very long when I was homeless to decide that this wasn't going to be what it was for me. So I was on the streets for a couple of days, but ultimately got put into a young person's hostel because of the age that I was, living underneath prostitutes, across the door from drug dealers. And the thing about homelessness that a lot of people don't, I think, credit is that there's a lot of entrepreneurship that happens in homeless environments. The girls around me were always there's lots of kind of subtext to everything that goes on in those kind of chaotic situations, but the girls around me always were positive. They were always thinking about their next thing. Yes, I didn't have lots of money and didn't know when I was going to be able to do another food shop and things, but ultimately I know it sounds odd, but it was probably one of the happiest, most freeing times of my life, and it made me able to think about all of the possible opportunities and the control that I had over my life. So it only took me maybe a few months of being homeless to understand that if I was going to make it different, I was going to have to figure out different ways of making money. Now, there are lots of different ways of making money when you're in that situation, but I decided to sell cocktails on the street. So I used to get alcohol from a guy that I knew, because everyone knows a guy when you're 17. And I used to shake it up into Long Island iced teas, bottle it into milkshake cartons, and go along the nightclubs and sell it to people in the streets. Because this was, I only had, you do still have to pay for things when you're homeless, even if you're in a shelter. So you get a little pot of money from the your benefits. But I only had £4 a week to live on, and I still had to get to college. So the bus return to college was £3.60, or a 1 hour walk that way and back. So I needed to make a little bit of money. So yeah, I started selling cocktails on the street, and ultimately it properly, spiritually, personality wise, absolutely lit a flame in me. I realized that this was something that I could control, something that I was good at, something that I really enjoyed. And at the time, it wasn't about building big companies or entrepreneurship or anything. It was everything to do with absolutely harnessing my own life, my own situation, and deciding to thrive from there.
Yeah, being in control. I totally get that. You were like a mobile pre-lash person, weren't you, going up and down those queues of people? Brilliant. I mean, that is the essence, isn't it, of entrepreneurship? What do people need? This is what they need. I'm going to go and find out how to do that. I can resonate a little bit because back in the day when we started our first business, we, through no fault of our own, through a partnership, were dumped on from a height, and we ended up owing thousands of pounds of money. And so we had to put the original company into liquidation, which was devastating for us at that time, because we'd been so aspirational of, oh, this is great, and it was only about 18 months, 2 years, when the business partner disappeared off the face of the planet and left us with huge amounts of debt, which meant the company went under. I remember sitting in I think it was Hyde Park with my husband, and he was like, oh, this is the worst thing in the world. And I sat there and said, look, we have a roof over our head, we have food in our bellies, we'll get by, we love each other, that's good enough. We don't need the stuff that everybody was having. And we spent about 2 or 3 years on the breadline, paying back the debts that we owed. We didn't want to declare bankruptcy or anything like that, and we wanted to keep our house, so we paid back all the money that we owed, made all these arrangements for sort of 3-4 years going, and we went back, started a business, and worked really, really hard to pay everything back. So that meant we couldn't go out for dinner, we couldn't put petrol in the car, we couldn't get rid of the car because it was on lease, so we had to pay the lease payments, and it complicated things like that. And people saying, oh, well, let's have a takeaway. I said, we can't afford a takeaway. We can only afford the stuff on the blue and white stripes shelves in Tesco's, and the leftovers, so all those kind of things. And I remember I didn't buy any item of clothing for 3 years, not a pair of knickers, not a pair of tights, nothing. You don't need to keep buying clothes all the time. We had stuff in our wardrobe. We had wardrobes. So for me, that was very freeing. It's like, well, if you can have that situation, okay, I still had a roof over my head, so I wasn't quite on rock bottom. But it was like, I can do anything. If we can come out of that, we can come out of anything. And it was like this freedom of like, I don't need stuff. I understand who my friends are, because they're the ones that stuck by me and kept supporting us and helping us. And you realize what was important in the world, and your brain had to start thinking really fast, like, how are we going to make some money? We've got to pay back these debts. This is important. We can't miss a payment. We can't miss our mortgage. So it was real hand to mouth stuff. And as you say, you're counting out the pennies to make sure you have everything there.
Yeah.
And you become in gratitude with what you do have.
Everything else after that's a game, I think.
That's so true. So true. So you went from selling cocktails. How did it then manifest from that to be the entrepreneur that we see in front of us today?
So that grew into a mobile cocktail bar. So the people that I was getting the alcohol from were at cocktail bars, and they used to get asked over the bar, can you come do my wedding and things? And they never were interested. So they used to pass it all over to me, and I bought really, really heavy steel bar off of Amazon for I think 80 quid, and just used to cart around doing all of these mobile cocktail events. And then I would turn up at these events and realize that they were really, really badly organized. So after a while I ended up in event planning, because I'd rock up and have the same corporate clients over and over again, and the events weren't well managed. So then I sort of went into event management. The event management grew into wedding planning. It's not very far away from each other. And there was one moment where I was, so I had my second born by then. I had my firstborn while I was, I also did university while I was doing the mobile cocktail bar.
Wow.
But I had a surprise in my second year where I had my firstborn, and but decided to carry on with uni, finished uni. But that, sorry, my firstborn, my second born came while I was planning this massive wedding. It was this oil broker's daughter who was spending 500 grand on the wedding,
Wow.
and she rang up, and she's lovely, nothing to do with anything, but said, I can't decide between duck egg blue cushions or baby blue cushions. And she was buying 300 of these chair cushions, just throwing the skip after. And I'd just come out of cesarean, you know, baby in my arms. I had my laptop on the hospital desk. I thought, what the fuck am I doing? I don't want to do this anymore. But since, so that was my last wedding, but people in the industry have been asking me how I was picking up these kind of clients. It was all through social media. I did marketing at uni, and so then I moved into consultancy. So I was in consultancy for close to 6 years until a year and a half ago, where I've been telling people to do their content, do social content, do your content over and over again for 6 years. And quite honestly, it's become totally out of reach for any kind of small, medium business to keep up with what they need to do on socials anymore. So I decided to set up my current company, which is called Clue, which is content creation house. So we do content for people. We help people keep up with content, and that's where I am now. That's a whistle-stop
Wow.
tour.
A skip and a jump. That's amazing that you can go in such a relatively short space of time into something. And I understand you've won awards now as Young Entrepreneur of the Year.
Yes, I am currently, I'm the reigning Great British Entrepreneur for the creative category, and I am the startup. I won the Startup Awards for the East of England, and I'm a finalist again for the Great British Entrepreneur Award for this year coming.
Wow. How does that
So
make
I
you
am
feel?
the rising champion. I don't, it kind of, I'm intrigued by it. The people that have won that award previously have ended up, you know, the guy that owns Brewdog, Stephen Bartlett. They're the kind of people that have won that award.
Right.
And so I'm intrigued to see whether that will continue for myself. But to be honest, the awards are fantastic, and I've found them really, really great for expanding my network. But the thing that really drives me are the team that I've managed to build, the clients that I've got, you know, the actual work that we do, which I absolutely love. You know, I love helping a business communicate exactly who they are, what they do, what they're passionate about, why they're different, all those things, just on socials in a really, really, really good and personality-led way for them.
I can understand that. Is you do come across as a people person, and the fact that your base is just wanting to help people to be more visible and get known, it makes perfect sense that the two go. Do you think you've kind of come to you're a square peg in a square hole now? Do you feel like you've come to that place where, compared to the event organizing, and that some of that was necessity, and now do you feel like you've chosen this rather than having to do the other stuff to kind of get out of a hole?
Choice is a funny word. People always ask me if I've chosen this. I don't think I can do anything else. So in terms of a choice, I don't think this business most definitely is working very, very well. But I think that's off the back of the years of experience I've got, particularly in this sector. But I don't think, if my life had been set up differently, I don't know if I would have ever chosen entrepreneurship, because it's absolutely brutal, especially when you're growing. At the moment, with the idea with Clue is to grow it and exit it at the age of 40. So it's quite equity led. I've got lots of investors aboard, and the pressure of that is insane. So choice.
Okay.
It's a funny word for that.
It's a bit of a moot point.
Yeah.
Okay, let me put it a different way.
Go on.
We talk a lot about genius in Collaboration Global, whereby everyone has it, we believe. It's not just for Einstein or Picasso. Everyone has something in them that they probably think is like anyone can do that. And actually, not everyone can do it in quite the same way that they do. So for example, for me, it's kind of connecting people. I always think everyone connects people, don't they? If they know that person and that person would get on really well, you'd put them together, wouldn't you? Not many people do that. So it's one of my genii, that I love doing that and I can't stop doing that. And I drive people crazy. My family's like, oh, would you stop bringing people together? I said, but they're going to get on. It's going to be so good when you see them together. So knowing the entrepreneurship is your kind of mojo. I get that. It gives you that buzz and it gives you that drive. But what is it within you? What would you say your talent or your genius is that allows you to do that, do you think? I've stumped her. That's good. I love it. Good for a podcast, a bit of a dead sound. I'll just feel while you think for a little while.
I think I'm really good. And I think this is what's come out in all of my, well, definitely from wedding planning to marketing, consultancy to content. I'm really good at seeing what's really special about someone and bringing that to the forefront. And that doesn't just come from what we do daily, but that comes from the team that I've built. It comes from the work ethic that we all live by in the company. But I think because, even thinking when I was in the hostel, you can look at all these girls, prostitutes, drug dealers, and you can see them for that. But actually, you can also see them for the incredible entrepreneurialness that they, honestly, a lot of them making so much more money than I ever think I could. And they're just using the tools that they've got. And so being able to see the absolute golden piece inside of someone, I think is what I'm really, really good at doing. And entrepreneurship is, I guess what you said, the driver that helps me do that. But we do that, now with our clients when we have consultations and we think about how we're going to communicate what they do online. And like I said, down to the team that I've built, they might not be hyper skilled in what they do. I do really like hiring in apprentices who don't have any work experience, but just seeing something in someone or something in a company that is really, really cool and really works well and is much more deserving of a spotlight of light than what they're saying on the front.
Yes, that's lovely. That is really special. That is very special.
I've never thought about it like that before.
But once you know it and you think about it and you go, actually, that is me, then all of a sudden you can exploit it. And you can make it work. So your next business, alongside Clue, you could have a recruitment agency, because you'd definitely be putting the people in the right places. Because when they fill out their form, they're saying what they want you to hear, but you interview them and you'd probably know immediately what their actual secret source is. And then you'd be able to put them in the right place with that. Anyway, just
I don't need another idea, Jill.
I know it's hard, isn't it? It's like bright shiny object syndrome. Stop it. It's too many. Let me focus on the one that I've got and let me make that polished so I can then push it off and let it live on its own, and then I can go on to the next bright shiny object. Talking of bright shiny objects, if you're a content creator, how do you feel about AI? Is it supporting your business? Is it worrying you about the future of your business? Is it something that is woohoo, or I'm not sure? How do you feel about it?
So I'm building out machine learning technology that's driven by AI at the moment. It's been picked up by the government as an innovative piece of technology that we've got lots of funding and grants for. So alongside that's what I also do. I definitely think AI will be a problem 100%. So all of my family are computer programmers. There's lots of that kind of conversation in our life, but I grew Clue and thought, how can I know how to do this, but there's a whole lot of data that goes into social that you can exploit if you know what you're looking for. So we're building out machine learning technology that only uses AI for analysis, just because it's much quicker and much less biased than a human. So you can analyze vast amounts of data, put it through AI, it spits it out, and along with the machine learning element that learns about your company, your competition, your social trends, and anything that's happening in the wider country, politically, economically, it will tell you exactly what to post on your social media. But it's at the moment, because of what I'm trying to do, yes, I'm using it and I enjoy it, but actually it's ultimately going to end up a very big problem unless it's not managed very well. And it's something that I do constantly think of and work on in our ethical framework when I'm building out my own technology, how to make it non-biased, how to make sure it doesn't end up going too far. But it's the problem with humans is that we sometimes will innovate at the sacrifice of humankind. And guns, for example, we never really needed to make guns.
No.
We were fine before. But AI is a very interesting topic. I think if you just separately look at it from a sustainability point of view, every time you use ChatGPT to search, you are doing the equivalent of pouring a bottle of water down the sink. But social media accounts for 5% of global greenhouse gases, which is double the airline industry. And so what I'm trying to do by utilizing AI is make sure that social media is less of a rubbish hole. If you think every piece of content you put out there is energy, rubbish, how can we put less content but with higher effect? And using AI for that analysis, this is a really big question that we could do a whole other podcast on. It's good for now, but it's going to grow if it's not managed.
Yeah, it needs to be managed for sure. There are so many, it's a big rabbit hole, isn't it, when you start researching and going down the evil behind what the potential is for AI, which I'm not going to go down on this podcast, but yeah, it has to be managed and it has to be monitored. And also we have to realize that it is fallible. I mean, somebody I know put in her name and said, what can you tell me about this person? And it turned out that she'd been racially abused and attacked, and her accuser had been in prison and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, she said, no, never happened to me. Never happened to me. She said, and it had all of her other details correct. So it was her, but it was just, it made an assumption of her race and the religion that she had out there on the internet, that this would have happened to her. And it just, she said it was horrifying, the stuff that came out. So it's only as good as what's being fed into it.
Well, exactly. And that's just the general internet. Whatever's on Google gets put into AI.
Exactly. Computer said no. So, oh dear, let's swap around. I pinched this question off of Simon Sinek, who on his podcast, being an optimist, and that's me too. I'm a big fat optimist. He looks at people's childhood and he asks the question, when you were little, say 7 or 8, what's the most fun thing that you used to enjoy doing? What was your happy place that you enjoyed?
Can you edit that out? Can you ask me a different question?
A different question. What, the same question in a different way, or just something else entirely? No, okay, something else entirely. No, that's fine.
Sorry.
The reason I ask the question is quite often, and I think it probably I could tell you what you enjoyed, is it links to what you're currently doing. So there probably would have been a time in your childhood when you were helping other people to do something. You were finding ways of orchestrating and conducting the play, or what was going on with your friends or school or whatever. So the entrepreneur in you shows up very early on. And I think that's what Simon's getting to when he comes to that space of this is why you're meant to be doing what you're doing. And it's a kind of legacy conversations, because we all kind of want to know, not necessarily in our 20s or 30s, but by the time you hit 60s and 70s, you're looking at legacy as in, why was I on this planet? What was the reason I was put here? What was I supposed to do? And if you know what your genius is, and you've kind of worked out, this is why I'm here, this is how I help people, because everyone's legacy is to help each other. It's called the human race. We're supposed to be here to be kind and look after each other. But understanding what your genius is, and then understanding how your life has led you to that point, of discovering your genius and also working out what your legacy is, how you help people, is usually you can spot it and you can have the stepping stones forward. So, for example, when I remember distinctly when I was in nursery at the age of 3 or 4, getting children to play with each other. Look, he's got this and you've got that, and you two could play really nicely together. And I look back over all of my life and I can see that I was constantly connecting people, whether they wanted to be connected or not. So yeah, that's a really good thing to look back on and think, so what's my legacy and where did it start? So that was the reason for the question. So let's move to the future.
Yeah.
You got 2 children, did you say?
2, yeah.
2. And what are your ambitions for them? Would you want, knowing how hard it is to be an entrepreneur, would you say to them, yeah, go for it? Or would you go, go just get a job and get paid and have the weekends off?
I don't know, really. I don't think, I think if either of them wanted to be entrepreneurial, I'd definitely support them. I don't think, knowing them, that either of them will end up in a 9-to-5 job with the weekends off. There's definitely a streak of difference in my children. My daughter dances 6 times a week. She already competes in competitions, so most definitely she's going to end up working all weekends, likely, on the stage.
Oh yeah, well, she'll be on Strictly, maybe.
Yeah. And my son's super sporty, absolutely loves everything. So I wouldn't say they love school, they're very academic, but I think they're probably much more vocational. And so it'd be interesting, but it's very based on the back of the way that sort of I grew up, and the way that I've grown up since owning my own companies. It's very much a hands-off, whatever you want to do, I'll support you. If you, as long as you're taking control of your own sort of, I'd say, finances, you know, well-being, not necessarily well-being, but, you know, health and social care, then I'm fine. You need me, I'm here.
Yeah, that's kind of my thought process. I've got 2 daughters, and the youngest one said to me once when she was about, I don't know, 10 or 11, what would I have to do to disappoint you? And I was like,
gosh, what a question.
I know. And I was like, well, I said, do you know what? Even if you came and told me you'd murdered someone, I'll assume they deserved it and I would support you. But what I would be disappointed in is if somebody controlled you and you didn't lead your own life. I want you to make your choices and not let somebody else push you around and dominate you.
Yeah.
So I think that gave her food for thought. And she certainly, in her choices now, she's 32. She's certainly taken a path where she's kind of testing herself, pushing herself, making sure that it's her decision and she's not being manipulated in any way. I'm very proud of, you know, the outcomes that she's come to. She's not an entrepreneur, and I don't think necessarily she has. She might be one day, who knows? But being an entrepreneur it can be quite exhausting, can't it? You've got so many things to think about, so many things to other people within the organization is what I find difficult, is helping and supporting them and making sure that they are maximizing their potential as well as yourself, pushing yourself to what you can achieve. And are you going in the right, there's this constant ticker tape in the back of your head, isn't there, going on? Is this the right way? Is that the right way? Should I be? So presumably, I'm asking the question, you have people guiding you and supporting you in what you're doing?
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of mentors, but I can definitely relate to every day thinking, is this right? Am I doing the right thing? But no, yeah, I do have as much as I would say, I probably break down on a weekly basis as to whether or not this is the right thing to do.
Somebody just tell me.
I know, but I do have I've managed to pick a lovely board of advisors and investors, and I have business coach, and I have counselling to help me. You know, there's professional guidance, personal guidance, and lots of friends and lots of entrepreneurial colleagues that
it's knowing you've got someone you can turn to. That, to me, that's part of the joy of Collaboration Global. Is if I'm having a bad day, I always know there's someone I can pick the phone up to, whatever my dilemma, whether it's personal, business, marketing, website, tech, whatever. I've got somebody going, can you got 5 minutes? And they go, yeah, go on. What do you want?
Oh yeah.
And I've got someone I can offload to and just kind of have a quick chat to make me go, oh, it's not just me then. Other people feel the same way, or just, the crazy stuff, that goes around in everyone's head.
Yeah.
Um, Talking about crazy stuff, if somebody is sitting here listening to you and going, oh my God, she did it at 17. I'm 22. I could be doing this. I could have had 5 years start by now. I could be the idea that I've had in my brain. What advice would you give a young person now to start the journey of being an entrepreneur?
Well, firstly, I'd say don't listen to that, because don't listen to that in your head. Because I think that I sit and think, oh, I'm 34. There's people who are 22 doing it, much bigger. I'm not on the Forbes under 30. Not that I ever would have been, but I don't think that goes away ever. I don't know. Maybe it goes away with a little bit more maturity, but that's not something to sit on. I think my advice is always to take action. So I do get in my head a lot sometimes, and in the space of sort of confusion, I always take action, or a space of overwhelm, take action, or space of doubt, take action. Like I personally, I'll always do something, sat on the hostel floor at 17, what the hell, right, let's take action, let's do something, let's do something, let's do something. And the do somethings get easier, you get more experience, you get more knowledge, you get more people around you maybe, but it's definitely, even if I sit and think that still, oh my gosh, that 22-year-old just did this and I'm 34, I'll think, right, I'll sit and work on my marketing plan.
Yeah, that's really good advice. It is really good, because also you don't know who they've got behind them. They might have been nurtured into entrepreneurship from the age of 5 by parents who've done it themselves, been there. You do this, you do this, you do this, and it's fine. Where you were doing it from 0.-0, which is incredible. And again, I started a business with everyone in my family being, what are you starting a business for? Auntie, don't start a business. That's not safe. You're never going to get paid. You're never going to earn a living. And I still had to kind of go, oh, am I doing the right thing? And like you say, you get in your head, don't you? My thoughts around the action thing is one of the things that bugs me, is when people learn and learn and learn and learn and learn.
Oh, yeah.
And then still gaze into their navel going, when is the universe going to bring me this wonderful business? And it's like, well, no, you have to take some action. You have to do some stuff before it's going to, or manifest itself and be created. But one thing I would say is that if you believe yourself to be an entrepreneur, be that entrepreneur inside of you. Be that person that you are manifesting into, and take that action that you think is going to take the next step and the next step and the next step. My coaching company is called Steps to Success. And the philosophy is the Lao Tzu quote, every journey of 1,000 miles begins with but one small step. And it's the commitment, the regular, consistent, being visible, being out there, creating the content and getting it out so that more and more people can see who you are and show a piece of yourself, so that they can connect to you emotionally as well as from the physical. Yes, I do this and I do this and I do this and I do this. So that's the doing. So what about the being part? And I think the being part for you, you are demonstrating that when you're talking about this was hard and that was difficult, but I still did this and then I did that and then I created that. And now it's getting not easier, it's just different. Still problems, but there are different problems from a different standing point that you can see a way forward. But ultimately, you're in control, aren't you? You're doing what you choose to do and what you're enjoying.
That's it, yeah.
Fast forward 10 years, where's Inge going to be in 10 years' time?
Oh, well, I'm definitely exiting this company at 40. That has always been the plan.
Lovely.
So that's in 6 years. In 10 years, so another 4 years, the plan is to turn around and reinvest whatever money I make out of the company back into marginalized small business owners. And a lot of people say that they do it. I mean, I bumped into an investor last week who said, proudly, angel investor, proudly says, I invest in marginalized, underrepresented founders. And on his portfolio of 5, he has 5 men, and one of them is an Indian man.
No words,
It's
no words.
interesting. So,
Yeah.
like I said, it's probably to go back full circle and recognize that the entrepreneurialism can come from anywhere, and to be able to go back and reinvest into those people so that they can also have possibilities, because sometimes you do just need some money to get things going.
Yeah.
We can graft and graft and graft and graft to make some money, but also it is a bit easier sometimes when you are equity funded. So it's that. And also traveling. In 10 years, my oldest will be 22 and my youngest will be 18. Because I didn't have my 20s, I'm going to go. Do it. Travel.
Have a midlife crisis.
Yeah, that's it.
Where would you like to go? Where's on your shopping list?
Oh, anywhere around the world. My husband's a pilot, so I will definitely be using that to my advantage.
Saving up your air miles.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Well, listen, Inge, if anybody's interested in somebody else doing their content creation, and Clue would be the obvious choice, what's the easiest way to get hold of you?
It's Clue content everywhere. So on socials, it's clue.content or it's cluecontent.com. Everywhere is the same, Clue, because no one's got a clue how to do it well.
I was just going to ask you where the name came from.
Yeah. Not that they should, but it's just where it's come from. Yeah, everywhere, Clue content.
Thank you so much. And hopefully, even though we've only just met, we'd love to see you at a Collaboration Global session one day so you can meet the community and share with them what you've been about as well. Thank you for this podcast. It's been a breath of fresh air to find out somebody who's started from scratch, literally, and made their way into this exciting environment, become an award winner, and have future plans going forward. So I wish you every success with everything you're doing. It sounds amazing.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Good luck with the flow, and hopefully we'll see you again very soon.
Thank you, Jill.
Take care.